All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep, highly structured journey into an incredible piece of ancient wisdom, the Pasarasi Sutta. If you love taking complex ancient philosophy and breaking it down into clear, actionable insights, well, you are in the exact right place. We're going to systematically unpack a core teaching from the Buddha himself, right from the source text, about what it actually means to truly seek freedom.
So I want you to think about this for a second. In a world full of endless distractions, what are we actually searching for? Seriously, think about your daily life. We spend so much energy day in and day out chasing after careers, relationships, wealth, status, the whole shebang. But this ancient text challenges us to hit the pause button and really analyze that pursuit. Because this isn't just some abstract philosophical puzzle. It's the absolute core of the human experience.
Section 1. The two types of search, ignoble versus noble.
The text kicks off with the Buddha addressing a group of monks, and he sets up this profoundly simple, totally binary framework for how we spend our lives. On the one hand, we have the ignoble search. The Buddha defines this as someone who, despite being subject to birth, aging, sickness, and death themselves, spends their entire life desperately chasing after other things that are also subject to birth, aging, and death. The text specifically calls out things like a spouse, children, servants, livestock, and even gold and silver. Basically things absolutely destined to decay. On the flip side, we have the noble search. This is the path of someone who spots the glaring flaw in chasing decaying things. Instead, they seek out the unborn, unaging, deathless state. They seek nirvana. It's the ultimate search for something totally safe from worldly bondage.
Section 2. The path to enlightenment, the hero's journey.
Now, the Buddha actually grounds this teaching in his own life story. Realizing the total futility of that ignoble search we just talked about, he makes this incredibly painful decision. As a young man, he leaves home, leaving behind his weeping parents, to embark on his own noble search. First, he studies under a famous teacher named Alara Kalama. And he's brilliant at it. He rapidly masters this meditation system, reaching what's called the realm of nothingness. But he realizes this still isn't true liberation, so he boldly walks away. Next, he finds another master, Udakara Ramaputta, and masters an even higher state, the realm of neither perception nor non-perception. Yet again, he realizes his teachers can only lead him to temporary trances. They aren't the ultimate end of suffering. So he leaves his teachers entirely, walks away, and arrives at a deeply peaceful grove in Uruvela to practice completely on his own.
And it's right there, in Uruvela, that he finally achieves the ultimate goal. He masters the noble search. He attains nirvana. But right after this incredible breakthrough, a massive, dramatic tension pops up. Just look at this quote from the text. Upon awakening, he thinks, "This Dhamma I have reached is deep, hard to see, hard to understand, hard to see for a generation delighting in attachment." He looks out at humanity completely obsessed with worldly pleasures, and he genuinely hesitates. He figures that trying to teach this profound truth to a world so blinded by desire would just be exhausting. It'd be completely pointless. But then, the narrative takes an absolutely incredible turn. A powerful deity from the heavenly realms, Brahma Sahampati, actually reads the Buddha's mind. Realizing that the fully awakened Buddha might just keep this to himself, the deity is terrified. He's thinking the world is going to be lost. He dramatically vanishes from the heavenly realm, appears right in front of the Buddha, and pleads with him. Open the doors to the deathless. Let them hear the Dhamma. Brahma Sahampati passionately argues that sure, many are blinded, but there are some beings with just a little dust in their eyes who will absolutely understand.
Section 3. The Lotus Analogy, Surveying the World. Touched by this plea, and out of deep compassion, the Buddha decides to take a look. He surveys humanity using what the text calls his Buddha eye, and what he sees is just a brilliant analogy. He sees the world like a pond of lotuses. First, you've got lotuses deeply submerged underwater. These are folks with a lot of dust in their eyes, deeply entangled in that ignoble search and just not ready yet. Second, there are lotuses right at the water's surface, ready to bloom soon with just a little push. And finally, there are lotuses rising magnificently above the water, completely untouched by the mud. These are the people with sharp faculties, ready to awaken almost immediately. Seeing this massive variation across humanity is a real game changer for him. It convinces him completely. He has to open the doors to the deathless.
Section 4. The first teaching, reaching the 5 monks.
So now the Buddha has to decide who to teach first. After finding out his old teachers had actually passed away, he journeys to Isapadana to find his 5 former companions. These were ascetic monks who practiced with him but bailed when he gave up their extreme fasting methods. Now, on the road, he bumps into a wandering ascetic named Upaka. Upaka takes one look at the Buddha, notices how incredibly clear and radiant he looks, and asks, "Who is your teacher?" The Buddha makes this incredibly bold declaration. He tells Upaka he has no teacher, that he is fully awakened, and that he is the ultimate victor, the Jina, who has completely conquered all evil and defilements. And how does Upaka react? He just shakes his head, says, "May it be so, friend," and walks right on by. It just goes to show, even when faced with the absolute ultimate truth, not everyone is ready to hear it.
But the Buddha presses on and finally reaches those 5 monks. At first, they plan to completely ignore him. They literally think he's a quitter who gave up their hardcore practices for a life of luxury. When he approaches, they just call him by his name and use the word friend. The Buddha immediately corrects them. He insists they sit down and listen because he has attained the deathless. And they stubbornly argue with him. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Finally, the Buddha looks at them and asks, "Have I ever spoken to you like this before?" Realizing his absolute conviction, they finally cave. They surrender and listen. And through his systematic, step-by-step instruction, all 5 monks successfully navigate the noble search and attain true nirvana themselves.
Section 5. The Snare and Sensuality. Traps of the World. At this point, the sutta shifts gears into a profound warning about exactly why the ignoble search is so incredibly hard to break free from. The Buddha introduces this chilling but absolutely perfect metaphor, the hunter's snare. To understand the trap, you really have to understand the bait. The text defines kama guna, or the 5 sensual pleasures. We're talking about the pleasing forms we see, the sounds we hear, the odors we smell, the flavors we taste, and the tactile sensations we feel. These sensory inputs are highly desirable and they provoke intense lust and attachment. The Buddha explains that these aren't just innocent little pleasures, they are literally the bait used by Mara. And Mara is the personification of death, suffering, and worldly illusion.
The text gives us this incredibly stark comparison. Picture a deer wandering through the forest. A person obsessed with the 5 sensual pleasures is exactly like the trapped deer. They become totally attached to the bait, they get caught in the snare, and boom, they are completely at the mercy of the hunter, Mara. They face utter ruin. On the other hand, the wise practitioner is the safe deer. They spot the danger in the bait, they don't get entangled, and they retreat deep, deep into the safety of the forest where the hunter can't even see them. They are completely free. Section 6. How to blind Mara, escaping the hunter. So you're probably wondering, how exactly do we become that safe deer? Well, the Buddha provides a highly structured step-by-step meditative technology for escaping the hunter completely. This is done through deep absorptions known as jhanas. As a practitioner withdraws from worldly sensual pleasures, they enter the first jhana. This state is filled with joy and pleasure born entirely from that withdrawal. The text literally says entering this state blinds Mara. It destroys the hunter's vision so he simply can't find you. From there, you move deeper into the second jhana, where thought completely ceases, replaced by this profound internal confidence. Then the third jhana, where even joy fades into pure mindfulness and equanimity. And finally, the fourth jhana, a state of total, pure equanimity completely beyond worldly pleasure and pain. With every single step, you are becoming increasingly invisible to the forces of suffering.
But the Buddha doesn't stop there. He goes even further, outlining the final psychological ascent into what are called the formless realms. The practitioner moves past all physical form entirely into the realm of infinite space, then infinite consciousness, then the realm of nothingness and the realm of neither perception nor non-perception, which, if you remember, are the very states his old teachers had reached. But the ultimate breakthrough, step 5, is the cessation of feeling and perception. In this state, achieved through profound wisdom, all worldly taints are completely wiped out. The text says this practitioner has totally blinded Mara, fully crossed over the worldly entanglements, and walks completely, 100% free.
And that brings us to our final takeaway for this explainer. The Buddha's timeless wisdom in the Pasarasi Sutta leaves us with a pretty intense mirror to hold up to our own lives. Are you caught in the hunter's snare, or are you on the noble search? Are you endlessly chasing the bait of sensual pleasures, things destined to age and fade? Or are you systematically seeking that which is deathless, unconditioned, and truly free? It's a profound challenge from an ancient text that remains absolutely vital today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what it is you are truly searching for.